Bismillah, read the next hadith. I should put the wrong earphones. Bismillah, read.
سبع سنين ولا يرى شيئا وثمان سنين.
You got it, Wathamana? Wathamani? What's after the noon? There's nothing after the noon. Okay. We just see your kitab there. Where is it? Tell me, where is it? Wathamani Sinin, right? I think it's Samani, yeah. Get it. وهو بنو. Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Also narrated on the authority of Ibn Abbas, he says, أقام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بمكة خمس عشر سنة. That Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم stayed in Mecca 15 سنة. It was 15 years, right? 15 سنة. يسمع الصوت. Listen nicely what he's saying. We should follow here because there's some explanation that's going to come here on the front, right? See what the hadith is saying. He stayed in Mecca for 15 years and he would hear sounds. وَيَرَى الضَّوْءَ. And he would see a light for سبع سنين. So see he stayed in for 15 years in Mecca, right? Out of that, for 7 just hear sounds and he would see a light, right? Right? وَلَا يُرَى شَيْئًا. And he didn't see anything else, right? Then وَثَمَانِ سِنِينَ إِلَيْهِ. Then for the 8 years he should get right إليه, right? وأقام بالمدينة. Go on. Sorry, there was a break there. We just switched networks for a better line. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're back on inshallah. I told you that, first thing when you doing the hadith, do not look at what your understanding of the hadith is. Your first step is to see what the hadith is saying. Your first step is to see. Don't worry what your belief is. And you may be a Hanafi, you are a Shafi, you are Maliki, or you are Ashari. First step is see what the hadith is saying. Understand what the hadith is saying. Then after that, you can start checking what your belief is and whether you accept the hadith as it is or you take it the literal meaning or you take the figurative meaning, whatever, whatever. The first thing is see what the hadith is saying. So I told you, first thing the hadith is saying, you see, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stayed 15 years in Makkah, this after Nubuwwat, right? The first problem we know, we discussed this before, that Nabi Sallallahu stayed 13 years in Makkah, right? Are you with me? Second thing he's saying, yeah, he's saying, يسمع الصوت ويرى الضوء 7 سنين. The second thing the hadith is saying, that for 7 long years, Nabi Sallallahu would only see a light and he would hear sounds. You didn't receive any wahi really, right? Then it says, وَلَا يُرَى شَيْئًا سِنًا. He wouldn't say anything. You just hear sounds and hear a light. Then وَثَمَانِ سِنِينَ يُوحَى إِلَيْهِ. Then for 8 years he received wahi in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Then it says, وَأَقَامَ بِالْمَدِينَةِ عَشْرًا. Then he stayed for 10 years in Medina, right? Yeah, we don't have a problem. That is our what we explained earlier. وتوفي, and he passed away وهو ابن 65 سنة, and he passed away whilst he was 65 years, and this is a muttafaq alay riwayat. Just last night in the one chat, I'm on all those chats, the one guy who only believes in the Quran, he only believes in the Quran, he doesn't believe in the hadith. So he was trying to make the case for not accepting the hadith. So he's saying, see, you people tell us to follow the hadith, you people tell us to follow the hadith, but look here, your own hadith are contradictory. He says here, and he quoted actually from Bukhari Shareef, he said, look at this riwayat of Ibn Abbas, it speaks about 40, 13, and 10, which comes to 63. And here another riwayat of Ibn Abbas speaks about 40, 15, and 10, which comes to 65. Are you with me? They see your hadith is contradictory. Why do you want us to follow the hadith which is contradictory? But if you got a basic understanding of what we explained earlier, then you will understand why outwardly it seems to be contradictory. But anyway, few things we want to look at. This one is now the numbers here, which doesn't tally up with the other numbers. That's the first thing. And the second thing is this point here, which says that for 7 long years, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Makkah didn't receive wahi. He only heard sounds and he saw a light. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. We got a bit of a poor network today. But anyway, we're back online, inshallah. So I was telling you the first answer is this, that This hadith is speak about 15 years is kasar. Then the second part of the hadith, which there's a bit of a problem for us, is that if you look at the zahir of the hadith, it's saying for 7 long years in Makkah al-Mukarramah, Nabi Sallallahu never, after becoming Nabi, that is the zahir of the word, that's the apparent of the word. For 7 long years, Nabi Sallallahu only heard sounds and he heard voices. Well, we know the narrative that we received is, remember the first time Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam seen as a Jibreel on the mountain. And in fact, that riwayat will come. We'll do that in detail under the revelation. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaq al-insana min alaq. So that also, the apparent of it is not correct, or we don't take the apparent of it. Here in the Shara is mentioned, the tarihi riwayat. Tarihi riwayat means historical narrations that suggest that the 7 years that they're speaking about here, in which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard sounds and he saw the light, this was actually before Nubuwwat. So, and they give the reason here that obviously to have met an angel, to have been appointed as a Nabi, etc., this was a big thing. It wasn't an easy thing. So, to come one time on Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would have been very difficult. So, prior to Nubuwwat, so from historical narrations, we learn that prior to Nubuwwat, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was prepared for 7 years. And in fact, in the next riwayat will come, it says also that Kana Tahannas, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to love to be alone, he used to go to the Ghar Hira, his wife Hazrat Khadija al-Kubra radiallahu ta'ala anha, she used to prepare for him Zadirah, what we say, Patkos, he used to go there, he used to sit there and he used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like how Ibrahim alayhi salam, because remember that time he had no instruction as yet as to how to worship exactly. So the question comes about, so to historical riwayat, it suggests that the 7 years was prior. The given here is this here also that it could refer to, inshallah, as we go through the lesson, we also refer to this, what is the period called as inqita'i wahi. There was a period after Nabi Sallallahu received his first revelation, then there was a period in between where there was no revelation. That is why the verse which comes, Ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma qala, that after having received the first revelation, and then Jibreel alayhi salam, so to say, went missing for a period of time. So Nabi Sallallahu was very depressed. What happened? So this, in technical terms, this is referred to inqita'i wahi. So we can say maybe for a period of time, maybe not continuously, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wouldn't receive any formal wahi. This was now time for him to acclimatize. It was time for him to digest and to internalize what had happened to him. That's why you say, وَلَا يَرَى شَيْئًا. In other words, besides the light that you would see, and besides the sounds you'd hear, there was no formal wahi that came after. So there's two explanations. One is that the 7 years refer to before Nubuwwat, when Nabi was being prepared, and the second explanation is this here. The second one is this, that it could refer to inqita'i wahi. There's a question here about hubbiba ilayhi al-khala'u. I think we haven't done that hadith. We're not going to do that hadith. Read the next one. We never do the one hubbiba ilayhi al-khala'u already. Somebody's asking how is that read. We only done one hadith already. It doesn't have that. Okay, read the next one. Right. So see, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن أنس قال توفاه الله على رأس 60 سنة متفق عليه. Same thing what we discussed earlier. Narrating the authority of Anas radiallahu ta'ala, he said that Allah ta'ala took the soul of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam upon Ras, means literally was at the head of 60 years. Now remember, we told you, Imam Bukhari said the most authentic riwayat speaks about 63 years. So again, Remember, this is the generic answer that all these other riwayat speaks about 65, 60, etc. These are kasr, just rounding off to the nearest 5 or rounding off to the nearest 10, etc. Right? Read the next one. Yeah, see, same day we got your answer also. وعنه also on the authority of Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, قبض النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, right, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken away, وهو ابن 63, he was a son of, that's a literal translation, in other words, he was a son of 63 years, وأبو بكر, and Abu Bakr, وابن ثلاث وستين سنة, was a son of 63 years, وعمر, and Umar also, خير منصرف, وابن ثلاث وستين, and he was a son of, that's a literal translation, but he was a man of 63 years, right? So, rawahu Muslimun, Imam Muslim narrates this. And then he says, remember I told you, Imam Bukhari says 63 is the most authentic, right? قال محمد بن إسماعيل البخاري, محمد اسماعيل البخاري said ثلاث وستين أكثر, that 63 years, this is the most, yeah, I could say most authentic, or it is the most often narrated. This is the riwayat that is most clear, it is most accurate. All the other riwayat is speaking about kasr, right? And so you can say it can mean the most clear, the most whatever, or it is if you look and put all the riwayat together, it speaks about the age of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then most of the riwayat speaks about 63 years. So remember this year also, you done also, alhamdulillah, that waqi'atul fil. Remember, alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil, alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil, right? So just remember this year. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was born. So remember I told you that the Arabs were ummi, right? They didn't really have dates and all that type of thing. They would calculate times with, like you can say, significant events and happenings. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was born 50 days after Waqi'atul Fil. Remember that? Nabi was born 50 days after Waqi'atul Fil. So here also, this is what the historians have calculated, but we can't say it is definitive, right? But this is what the historians say. They say Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born 6,113 years after Adam alayhi salam came to the dunya. You got that? So if you look at this explanation here, this would mean that the world, man, on earth is only about 7,000 years on this earth, right? And then he says here, Nabi Sallallahu was born 570 years on the 29th of August after Isa alayhi salam. And the English, or rather the lunar date was the most authentic, although there's different riwayat, but the one that our ulama chose to be the most authentic was the 12th of Rabiul Awwal in Makkatul Mukarramah. And then, at the age of 40, he received Nubuwwat. And here's another interesting fact for you also, that I also saw for the first time. Most of the Quran was revealed, right, in Makkatul Mukarramah. After receiving, and that was the 13 years that Nabi Sallallahu spent in Makkah, most of the Quran was revealed there. And obviously, at the age of 53, he made hijrah to Madinah to Munawwara. And he spent 10 years in Medina. And also, there's also some ikhtilaf with regards to the exact date of his passing away, of his wisal. But according to the most authentic riwayah, they say on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal at the age of 63 Islamic years, and he's buried in the Hujra of the Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha. Okay, so that's just a brief overview. Let's read the next hadith, inshallah.
عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت أول ما بدأ به رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فمن الوحي الرؤيا الصادقة في النوم فكان لا يرى رؤيا إلا جاءت مثله
Okay, let's translate as we go along. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. An Aisha narrated as the Tarat of Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anhu. قال أول ما بدأ به رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The first thing that was started with Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم من الوحي الرؤيا الصادقة من الرؤيا الصادقة. So remember we discussed this earlier. We mentioned that nubuwwat, wahi, etc. wasn't trusted all at once upon Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because obviously it would be difficult for him. That is why in the Quran, إِنَّا أَرَدْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا. That Allah Ta'ala put this amanat of the Quran, Allah Ta'ala put this amanat of Islam upon the mountains and the earth. فأبين أن يحملها. They refused. وأشفقنا منها. They feared. فحملها الإنسان. That insan was ready to pick it up. That's why, inshallah, as we go through the sabak, you'll see also there's certain riwayah that suggests that one Sahabi says that when Nabi Sallallahu was relaxing on my thigh, and all of a sudden, wahi was started, or he began to receive wahi, that out of the sheer force and the power of the wahi that came upon Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it seemed as though my thigh would snap under that pressure. And also there's other riwayat that say that many a times it would be a cold day. It would be a cold day. And then you'd see Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam all of a sudden breaking out into a sweat. Beads of perspiration would drop from his forehead. So it shows you that all of this was not easy upon Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It was a big trust. And then even that what it وَلَا تَعْجَلْ بِلِسَانِكَ in the Surah Qiyamah, that Nabi Sallallahu was, when the wahi was revealed to him, he would want to repeat what is being revealed to him out of fear for getting it. So the wahi wasn't an easy simple thing. It was a big, but for which the you would see through dreams in Naomi in his sleep. فكان لا يرى نوما. You not see a dream إلا جاءت مثل فلق الصبح, except that it will become like the breaking of the dawn. It was like how, when the dawn breaks on a clear day, how beautiful it's clear. These dreams would manifest itself in such a clear manner to him. And we'll do this as we go through the sabak also. That's one of the mediums of wahi. Like how Allah Ta'ala would, when he wants to give Nabi Sallallahu a message, we discussed in the beginning, in the introduction, something will be put in the heart of Rasulullah Sallallahu, an angel would come, etc., etc. One is you see something in a dream. That is why the ulama explain that the dream of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wa taslim is haq. Not like us, we see, out of most of the dreams we see because we're tired, or because something is playing on our mind, or because we overate, or maybe we overslept or something. No, that the dreams of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wa taslim, they were haq, right? That's why it also is a riwayah that says that dreams is 1/40th of nubuwwat. In other words, we'll come to that. 1/40th of nubuwwat, meaning for the period of 1/40th, Nabi Sallallahu received through dreams, right? So ثم حبب إليه الخلاء, then solitude would be made beloved to him. So what is this? By saying ثم حبب إليه الخلاء, one you can say كان يحب الخلاء, he loved to be alone. But by saying ثم حبب إليه الخلاء, Allah Ta'ala made it as such. Allah Ta'ala made it as such. Allah Ta'ala instilled in his heart the love to be alone, to sit and reflect. That is why you speak about, when you speak about in the science of the soul, tazkiyatun nafs, where you purify your inner, etc. The ulama speak about khalwat, solitude, where you sit you ponder, you think about where you're going, etc. Carry on. Right. وكان يخلو بغار حراء, and he used to adopt solitude, or he would, yeah, maybe a nice way to say, he used to seclude himself بغار حراء, in the cave of Hira. Now, if you go, inshallah, Makkatul Mukarramah, you can go see the Ghar Hira. Actually, keep climbing to go up there, but I saw recently, I think they're putting cable cars where you can go up, right? فيتحنث فيه. What is تحنث? وهو التعبد الليالي, right? ذوات العدد. He would worship for days. Right? تحنث means what? تعبد, to worship at night time for a few days. Carry on. Right. قبل أن ينزل أهله. So you'd spend time there alone in worship, right? Before you'd return to his family. Right. ويتزود. يتزود means to take like how we here in South Africa, in Afrikaans say padkos, né? In English say road food, take some provisions. But Allah speaks in the Quran, وَخَيْرُ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. The best provisions you can take is taqwa. So you take his provisions, there's going to be several days in the mountains. وَيَتَزَوَّدُ لِذَلِكَ. You take his provisions. ثم يرجع إلى خديجة. Then he would return to Khadija al-Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala. Carry on. ثم يرجع إلى خديجة فيتزود لمثلها. Then he would take again provisions like that حتى جاءه الحق. So this was, what he's saying is, this was his habit, or this was his routine. You do this, go there. And Allah Ta'ala made it such. Allah Ta'ala instilled in his heart the love to go there and to worship there, etc. And all this was in preparation for the magnanimous event. حتى جاءه الحق, until the truth came to him. So what is meant here, the truth came to him? What I mean here, the truth came to him? Until Wahi came, until Jibreel came, until he was commissioned as a prophet. When Jibreel came and said, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Carry on. Right. وهو في غار حراء, and he was, so the truth, يعني حتى جاءه الحق, until the truth came to him. وهو في غار حراء. This is حال. So until the truth, and I tell you, truth came here, you can say the truth means his commission as a Nabi, or the Wahi came to him, or the first revelation came to him. And this is hal, condition. It came to him whilst he was in the cave of Hira. Carry on. Right. So the angel came to him, فقال اقرأ, read. He said, right. So what happened here? Remember, we told you that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not formally schooled. He didn't have a formal education. So yeah, Jibreel Amin alayhi salam came like a teacher to teach him something. So he was not. So he said, look, you want me to read after you, etc. Ma ana biqari'in. I am not a reader. I haven't been formally schooled. And he was shocked up here because now I told you, according to some riwayat, Jibreel Amin came in his original form, etc. So he was shocked up. Ma ana biqari'in. Carry on. Right. So he says, so Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not prepared. Okay, I won't say wasn't prepared, but okay, he was taken a bit by surprise because this was a magnanimous event. فأخذني, he took hold of me. فغطني, he squeezed me. I remember the words of our Ustad Mala Harun, rahmatullah, says, the bocha, he squeezed me. حتى بلغ مني الجهد, until, this is what the literal translation, juhud is the failure, until exertion reached me. So what this would mean here is this, Luqman, what it means here is that he squeezed me to the point of, just before I could, a breaking point. Yeah, that's the right word. He squeezed me just before breaking point. He squeezed me so hard, right? So what this is, this was, you can say, a infusion of spiritual strength. What was this? It was an infusion of spiritual strength to prepare Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam for what was to come, to prepare him for the great task that Allah lies ahead of him. Carry on. Then ثم أرسلني, he released me again from his grip, and he said again, اقرأ. And I said again, Ma ana biqari. Look, I can't. You want to teach me, you want to school me, but I'm not a person who has been formally schooled. I don't have any type of education. Ma ana biqari'in. I'm not a reciter, right? So then, فأخذني, he took hold of me. فغطني الثانية, and he squeezed me for a second time. حتى you got جهد or جهد? I got in my kitab Juhd, and I remember this from this also. Hatta balagani, until exertion reached from me. I told you that, man. I told you, he just stopped before breaking point. Before I would have maybe have collapsed, or would have maybe before I would have, you'd have, like, say, render me unconscious, right? Carry on. Then he released me again. Right? And then for the third time he said, اقرأ, now read. I said, ما أنا بقارئ. I can't read, I'm not formally schooled, right? Then he took all of me for a third time, right? فأخذ فغطني الثالث, he squeezed me for a third time, right? حتى بلغ مني الجهد, until exertion reached me. As I told you, you can say a nice way also, until I just stopped short before breaking points, right? Right, then he released me, he said, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read in the name of your Lord, the one who has created you. خلق الإنسان من علق. He created man from a clot of blood. اقرأ, read. وربك الأكرم. Your Lord is the most noble. الذي علم بالقلم, the one who taught with the pen. علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. He taught the man which he did not know. Carry on.
فرجع برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يرجف سؤاله.
Right. So after this, فرجع بها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So we return with this condition, with this wahi. يرجف فؤاده. The fuad normally translated as heart, right? And rajafa yarjufu, you got yarjufuna. You can say the literal translation here is that his heart was shaking. But what it means here is, sometimes when you are nervous, or you experience something very overwhelming, then you start shaking your sides, you start trembling. So that is what is meant here. He was trembling, his body was shaking, he was shaking out of nervousness. Yarjifu or yarjufu fuadu, yarjufu fuadu. Right? فَدَخَلَ عَلَى خَدِيجَةَ, he entered into the presence of his beloved wife, Khadija. Carry on. He said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni. So normally, when a person is shaken up or whatever, and a person is all nervous, overwhelmed, even though it's a hot day, but you want to be covered. Cover me, right? Right. فزملوه, so his housefolk, they covered him حتى ذهب عنه الروع, until the rawaya, I can say the fear or the anxiety left him until he was calm, right? Right. فقال لخديجة وأخبرها الخبر. Then he said to Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, وأخبرها الخبر, and he informed her exactly what had happened, right? He said, لقد خشيت على نفسي, that something different, something out of the ordinary, something strange happened to me. لقد خشيت على نفسي, I feared upon myself. I feared something, like, what is this different? Something will happen to me, right? Carry on. And Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala, mature, wise, She knew that this was a good man. He was not a chancer. He was not an opportunist. He was not a crook. That Allah Ta'ala wouldn't disgrace him. Allah Ta'ala wouldn't say shaitan to him. So she said, Kalla, never. Why did you fear? Wallahi, I take a qasam Allah. La yukhzika Allah abada. Allah Ta'ala will never disgrace you. Abadan, ever. Why? See what? Look at the reasoning. Look at what the intelligent person she was. Is why Allah Ta'ala won't disgrace you. Why would something bad happen to you? This that happened to you is something positive. It's not something negative. Why can't it be negative? Why can't it be negative? It can't be negative because you are a good person. And then yes, you raise some beautiful qualities. So what we understand from this, if you want good things to happen to you in your life, if you don't want negative things to happen to your life, then you must adopt the same qualities here. Adopt these same qualities, right? إنك لتصل الرحم. When people have broken off a relationship, instead of keeping it that way, you go out of your way to join family ties. وتصدق الحديث. You you are truthful in your speech, right? And you carry the burden, and you earn for those who don't have, you assist those who don't have. وت- وتقري الضيف أقرى يقري. You host, you welcome the guest. Yeah. So you assist. Naba yanubu naibun means something which comes. So you assist upon the calamities of truth. So when people experience difficulty, etc., etc., then you assist them. Right. ثم انطلقت به خديجة إلى ورقة بن نوفل ابن أم خديجة. So first thing she done, she knew that there's something, it's got to do with religion. And she knew that her cousin, Ibn Am means her cousin, Waraka, the son of her uncle Naufal, he was also into religious things, right? He studied the previous books. Let's go to him and see what he's got to say. So what she done, she went to ثم انطلقت به خديجة إلى ورقة بن نوفل ابن عم خديجة, right? Yeah. فقالت له, she said to ورقة بن نوفل, يا ابن عمي. So عمي the يا متكلم is dropped off there, né? That's how it normally you do in Arabic. Oh, son of my uncle, اسمع من ابن أخيك. Just listen to the son of your brother, right? See, this maybe obviously he wasn't the nephew, but he was the husband of the niece. They said, listen to what he got to say. He's got something interesting to tell you. Just see what he's saying. Carry on. So he said, يا ابن أخي, oh son of my brother, ماذا ترى? What did you see? What did you experience? Tell us about your experience. Tell us about your experience, right? Right. فأخبره رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خبر ما رأى. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained exactly what he saw about Jibreel and the squeezing. They said, so remember, Waraqat ibn Nawfal was a scholar of the previous scriptures. And obviously he studied the description of the final Nabi. He studied the time when the final Nabi would come. He studied the place where the final Nabi would come. That is why he knew exactly, he knew the time was right. And probably he saw all the qualities in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was convinced. He was convinced that the time is right, the place is right, this is the right person, he fits this description. So when he said to Nabi Sallam, Hada Namus, this is the angel, he didn't just say it because of what he heard of Nabi Sallallahu, not just purely based upon that. But rather, as I told you, he knew the time was right. He knew the place was right, everything. So putting all those factors together, he said, هذا الناموس. This is the angel. الذي أنزل الله على موسى, the one which Allah Ta'ala sent to Musa. يا ليتني كنت فيها. If only ya later, so, إنك أنا لكننا later لعل, the need there is the what? Is the ism of later. Ya laytani. So that becomes the need there, becomes the ism. And then kuntu fiha, jaza'an is a separate jumla fi'liya which becomes the khabar of laytani. You understood that? So remember the khabar is a separate jumla is own. We say, ya laytani kuntu fiha. If only I was, gee, ya laytani fiha jaza'an. I got ya laytani kuntu fiha jaza'an. Maybe we should check. You can go. This is a Bukhari Sharif riwayat. You can go back to Bukhari Sharif and check. Maybe you can Google it and check in Bukhari Sharif what it is like. Right. So if only I was be still young and active. Ya laytani akuna hayyan. If only I was, if I were alive at the time. Right. إذ يخرجك قومك, when your people will remove you, they will expel you. So what does this tell you here? When he recognized that this is the Nabi of Allah Ta'ala, he said, if only I'm there around to help you. So this shows you, interesting, that it's even mentioned in the previous scriptures, that the place where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will make his call to the oneness of Allah Ta'ala, they will be very hostile towards him. They will make life unbearable for him. Because why else would Warakat ibn Nawfal say, look here, if only I'm around to assist you when your people expel you, if only I'm around to assist you when your people give you a hard time. This shows you, it's even written in the previous scriptures, that Nabi is the prophet, the last prophet, Nabiyu Akhirul Zaman, Khatamun Nabiyyin. You will be given a very, very difficult time. You will be given a hard time. You understood that? Right? So, إذ يخرجك قوم فقال رسول الله مخرجيهم. So Nabi Sallallahu was in surprise. This is akhraja yukhriju mukhrijun. So mukhrijuna. What's it? Then you bring ya here as the what? Uh, as the fail. Sorry, as the mudaf ilay. So mukhriju ya. So then that wow drops off, and then mukhrijiya becomes the mudaf ilay. Whom? So will they remove me? And whom here is a ta'qid of, you can say the file whom in there, right? Our mukhrijiyahum. So Nabi Sallallahu was shocked. Look here, these people that treat me so well, and because I came from a noble family, and from the Quraysh, I was honest, I'm righteous, kind. I never harm anybody. I do never do anything wrong to anybody. I don't expect them to be so hostile to me. That's why Nabi Sallallahu was surprised. Our mukhrijiyahum. Will they really remove me? So what does this show you? This shows you that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never anticipate this hostile reception from them. That's why you're surprised. One of the Nawfal was saying, yes, your people will remove you. On what basis was he saying? Because he read it in the previous scripture. Because he was speaking from what he saw in the previous scripture. He was speaking. So two things that I want to point out to you. That's interesting from this one statement. The first thing we learn is, look at the detail with which the previous scriptures spoke about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That the previous scriptures even said that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will be removed. And Waraq ibn Nawfal was you can say he was a well-grounded scholar of the previous scriptures. That is why he knew that. That's the first thing. Then the second thing we see from here also is this here, that Nabi was astonished. That look here, my own people that love me so much, that show me so much respect, will they actually expel me? Will they remove me from my hometown? Second thing. Third thing, interesting thing we learn here, that people will love you, people will respect you, people, as long as you sing their tune. Like how you say in Afrikaans, as long as you are ja broer. You know what ja broer? Everything people say must say yes, 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 yes. I agree with you. Maybe there must be an English equivalent for that, but in Afrikaans, like something a yes man. As long as you are a yes man, yeah, that guy's a bad guy. Yes, yes, yes. If you go to the same guy, that guy's a bad guy. You say yes, 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 and this. And so long as you are ja broer, you say yes, yes man, everything. People, but the moment you start saying things, you start speaking the truth. So as an alim, as a scholar, you will leave from here, you will go out many times, you'll have to speak the truth. You can't be a yes man. You have to speak the truth out of fear of without fear of favor, without fear of criticism. وَلَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. Right? So, Waraqah, naam, yes, definitely. You will be, you will receive a hostile reception. Everything won't be hunky dory. And he says, look here, I can tell you, لم يأتي رجل قط بمثل ما جئت به. No person came ever with what you came with. That was, you came with the truth. People were worshipping idols. They were doing all funny things, right? Nobody came with the truth. In other words, in simple words, nobody came to challenge the status quo. Illa udia. Udia, ada, yudi. Udia is the majhul, except you are shown. So, man, it is coming in the hadith, man ada li waliyan faqad azantu bil harb. That person who shows enmity to a friend of mine purely because he's my friend, من عادى لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب. Then I declare, warn him. So عادى يعادي أودية. Majhul. Nobody comes with the truth. Nobody comes to challenge the status quo of evil, of shirk. Speak about, come to you say to say like you like no like in there. So they like how we say when somebody comes as a party pooper, you're gonna stop the fun, stop the enjoyment, stop all the debauchery, stop the nudity, right? Illa udia is such a person. He's shown enmity, he's shown hatred. Wa yudrikni yawmuka. But I can tell you, if your day reaches me, that's a literal translation. Yawmuka is the fire. Ne? Yawmuka. If your day reaches me, in other words, if I am alive that day, maybe I was already reached an advanced age, and now obviously this takes a time. Then ansuruka nasram mu'azzara. I know I can see you on the haqq. I heard about the final prophet is coming. I see within you the signs, your nobility, your generosity, etc. Definitely, ansuruka nasra mu'azzara. I will help you a strong helping. ثم لم ينشب ورقة أن توفي وفتر الوحي. So then لم ينشب ورقة. Waraqah ibn Nawfal didn't last very long, right? Right, Waraqah until توفي, then he passed away. وفتر الوحي, and then wahi ceased. There's an interesting discussion here also. But just by the way, remember yesterday we discussed when we done in Aqidah to Tahawiyah, what is the tarif of a Sahabi? A person who met Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam whilst he met Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a Muslim. He never met the Nabi Sallallahu before he accepted Islam as a Muslim, and he passed away whilst he was a Muslim. So the question comes as, was Waraqat ibn Nawfal a Sahabi? Try to fit it on that definition now. You tell me, was he a Sahabi? This discussion actually comes, to be honest with you, I forgot the answer. But the discussion does come in the Kitab. Was Waraqat ibn Nawfal a Sahabi? Because he accepted Nabi Sallallahu he said he accepted his Nabi, right? Because he said, look here, you the same Jibreel came to you, and I will help you, and your people are going to remove you. So that means he accepted Islam. So is he a Muslim or not? Did you come across this discussion in your Manzuma? I know this discussion is here, but to be honest with you, I don't want to shoot from the hip. This come. But if I apply my mind and take picture, it would appear that he was a Muslim, because look, this was after Nubuwwat, right? So Vishnu already received Nubuwwat, because this was after Ikra Bismi Rabbika Alladhi Khalaq. Right? So Nabi was already a Nabi, and he accepted the message, and he died on that Iman. So technically, it should appear, I'm giving my own opinion here, I'm not seeing it in the Kitab, we can check it out. I know it does come in the Kitab. So it appears that he was a Sahabi, right? Anyway, but if anybody knows something, they can share with us. Muttafaqun alayhi, this is a muttafaq alayhi riwayat. وزاد البخاري, but another riwayat of Bukhari goes, حتى حزن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيما بلغنا حزنا. حزنا, what you got after حزنا, غدا منه مرارا كي لا يتردى من رؤوس شواهق الجبل. فكلما أوفى بذروة جبل لكي يلقى نفسه منه تبدى له جبريل فقال يا محمد إنك رسول الله حقا. فيسكن لذلك جاشه وتقر right. فيسكن لذلك جاشه وتقر نفسه. Okay, so let me first just say what happened. I told you, remember we discussed earlier انقطاع الوحي. Fatratun Wahy. So after Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we'll discuss this in the Kitab also, that after Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam received the Wahy for the first time, and he was appointed as a Nabi, and all of a sudden everything got cut off, and there was no Wahy for a while. Then Nabi Sallallahu was a bit confused, like what happened? That's why Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, Ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma qala. Your Lord has not forsaken you. He was worried now that why is no Wahy coming? Why is Jibreel not coming anymore to me? Maybe was I not good enough? Or maybe, because remember, it was a magnanimous thing. It wasn't an easy thing. So he was, gripped with different feelings. And according to here, he would walk on the mountains, and at times he would be so overcome with grief, depression, that actually he wanted to throw himself off the mountain. So see there now after I understood it, look at the guy say, Hatta Haziran Nabi Sallallahu Fima Balahana, right? That Nabi Sallam became grieved in what had reached us, right? Right? Balahana حزنا غدا منه مرارا. Such a grief, it will come from him many times. كي يتردى من رؤوس الشواهق, to such an extent he wanted to throw himself from the tops of the mountains. Right? فكلما أوفى بذروة جبل, every time he would proceed بذروة, to the top of a mountain, كي يلقي نفسه, so he must throw himself off because of this depression, right? Or not depression, or because of this confusion, right? كي نفسه منه تبدى له جبرائيل. Jibreel would appear to him فقال يا محمد, he said, oh Muhammad, don't worry, don't get relaxed, right? إنك رسول الله حقا, you are really the prophet of Allah Ta'ala. It is not, it's not that shaitan came to you, or shaitan came to deceive you or whatever. You are the prophet. The wahi will come, right? إنك رسول حقا فيسكن لذلك جاشوه, like that his heart will be satisfied. وتقر نفسه, and then his nafs, he would be a bit relaxed, until again he would become restless. Okay, so that was basically just the translation of that lengthy hadith, beautiful hadith about our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So many lessons you can learn from this, so many things we learn. I can say it is loaded, it is pregnant with lessons, with beauty. So that was basically the translation. Inshallah, tomorrow we will look at the explanation of that in detail. Okay, let's do the tafsir. We're doing the kitab. Let's see if we can, we'll do whatever we can do tomorrow's income. Okay, when we do 5 minutes, okay.